R.I.P. Young Dolph. Had to start out with a little shout out to him.
Mhm.
Obviously, unfortunate situation out of Memphis today, so our thoughts and prayers are with his family and all that. But it is free money football. It's time to break down NFL 11 and your best bets of the week. And we're going to look through all these games, look at especially a lot of these injury situations going on and how these lines are being affected. I got MereKat with me, I got Stevie with me, and I'm your host, Ty B. So let's get into it. MereKat, was a very interesting weekend, and it seemed like the public really got crushed yet again. But a lot of these teams who had tough weeks the week before seemed to really bounce back.
Oh, then we saw it last week. You just brought it up. There were so many picks that were like, this doesn't make sense. I don't want to take this, whatever. Like the Saints pick I had. I hated that play. I didn't want anything to do with it. They cover miraculously somehow. When they scored at the end and win for 2, I was begging for them not to get the 2-point conversion, avoid overtime, just lose by 2, cover that 2.5. I've strung together a couple good weeks now, and it's just kind of been fading like we're looking at the money, following where the sharp money is, fading the public, and Stevie's little trend he brought up of teams that didn't cover versus teams that did cover went 7-0 this week.
Yeah, I mean, it's been crazy, and we kind of talked about it too we expect teams to have bounce back weeks. They've been disappointing. You had the Cowboys and the Bills the week before suffer their, worst losses of the year. The Bills lose in Jacksonville. The Cowboys get crushed home to Denver. What they do this past week, they crushed their opponents. The Cowboys crushed the Falcons. The Bills crushed the Jets. It wasn't even close, and that's the stuff you kind of want to look out for. These good teams that may have been, down a little bit the week before, jump on them the next week. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid that they didn't look great, because we know they're good teams. They're going to figure it out. And that's what the Cowboys and Bills did.
Yep, absolutely. And let's get it started here with the Thursday night football game and a team that looked really great last week in the New England Patriots going on the road to take on the Falcons here. Both these teams have identical records and against the spreads here. Patriots 6-4, 6-4. Falcons 4-5, 4-5. Patriots are a touchdown favorite in this one. This opened at 5.5, already moving to 7. We see the public kind of all over the Pats. In this one, I think if you look at it, money's probably coming in on them as well. Just looking at their most recent performances, they've been scoring at a pretty good clip, and they're playing a Falcons defense who hasn't been very good, Steve.
Yeah, and what's happened is the Patriots defense has been very good. The opposite of what the Falcons did. The last 2 games, Browns and Panthers, allowed 13 total points. This Patriots team has shown that they're a next man up type of system. They've always been that with Billy B, and there was no difference last week. I got crushed because I thought the Browns were going to give them a game. I thought the Browns could expose them, and it was quite the opposite. The Patriots used Ramondre Stevenson, the rookie, to just torch the Browns defense. Mac Jones did what Mac Jones has been doing all year long. He's just making short, safe passes, and it's working. And good old Jacoby Myers got his first touchdown of his career. Looked great last week. Now you play a Falcons team that was embarrassed against Dallas, and I think we all kind of saw that coming. There were a lot of people that kind of liked the Falcons to give them a game, which I didn't understand. Falcons are not a good team. We've been over this. We've said this time and time again. The Falcons are not a good team. I've retired the Falcons. I'm done with the Falcons. I'm just going to keep trusting this Patriots team. I think they're pretty good. I didn't have high expectations for the Patriots coming into the year, but when you have an elite head coach like Bill Belichick and he just has guys that can work for him, that's what we've seen this year. There really isn't any true stars on this Patriots team, just a lot of good football players that make it work. I'll lay a touchdown against the Falcons. I don't care.
Yeah, I feel like this is one of the trap games we were talking about. There were a bunch of last weeks. The Falcons have no right being touchdown, within the spread of the Patriots right now. We brought that up the past couple weeks. Falcons had no right being, within striking distance of Dallas. They had no right being favorites the week before. They're getting these weird lines. I mean, they just lost to Dallas by 40. And boys, I am terrified of the Patriots right now as a Bills fan. Mac Jones, I thought was going to be like an average game manager in the NFL. Turns out he's like the best game manager of all time. And that offensive line is so good. You saw Ramondre Stevenson still eat with Damian Harris out. The Patriots rely on the rush. They have a bunch of rushing touchdowns, and the Falcons have allowed the 6th most this year. It's not a good combo. the Pats can't keep scoring 40-plus points right now. I just don't think they're built for that. I feel like this might be a come-down-to-earth game for them. I can't bet against the Patriots right now. I'm not going to, but I don't think I'm going to take them here. It just feels cheesy.
Yeah, we've seen very, very, very often this season that going against the public is the profitable way on primetime games this year. So it might be a fade the Patriots game, and especially if that line continues to grow, if you can get that over a touchdown tomorrow, that's probably something worth hitting just because of how much line movement you've gotten there. But there could be some solid value, even the fact that it's just moved 2-3 points for you there. That could really be the helper. It could be that half point that ends up being the thing that wins it for you. And that's why you tune into Free Money Football, because we help give that stuff out. But on to the Sunday slate. And we got a game between the Saints and the Eagles to go through first here. We got the Saints going on the road, getting 2 points over under, sitting at 43 in that one. Saints 5, and same thing as the other game, 5-4 record, 5-4 against the spread, 4-6 record, 4-6 against the spread. The Eagles up and down roller coaster has continued. They're backs are up against the wall yet again. The NFC East is probably not going to be winnable because you're going to have to catch the Cowboys, but you could still potentially be alive for a wild card spot with 7 teams getting into the playoffs this season if you can start to string together some wins, especially teams ahead of you in the standings like the Saints. So this is a big game here for the Eagles, and it feels like a game where they might be back on the uptick, MereKat.
Yeah, it's one of those games where the Saints just got that cover last week, and when you look at Sean Payton and his whole career with the Saints, he's 54-30 against the spread following a loss, 3-0 this season following a loss against the spread here. And I do like the Eagles. They're on the uptick. That rushing attack is there. You're seeing Jordan Howard and Boston Scott be extremely productive. Jalen Hurts is going to give you 50 a game floor. And they're going against the Saint defense now. I've brought up the past few weeks, their yards per carry they allow to opposing running backs keeps going down. They still lead the NFL now at 3.1 yards per carry. They shut down opposing running backs, and they're getting their superstar running back. Most likely it's looking like Alvin Kamara was back at practice today in a pretty decent capacity, so it's looking like he might be able to run it. I just don't see the Saints losing this game. I don't love the Saints. I don't love Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill combo we're getting right now. But Sean Payton has this team moving. Alvin Kamara back can only mean good things. And they didn't even look bad last week. The defense is a wagon. I got to take the Saints.
Yeah, I'm kind of torn on this game because I like the Eagles, and I normally think the Eagles are a good team at home, but they're actually 0-4 at home on the year this year, and the Saints are a team that can travel well. Thing with the Eagles for me is Devonta Smith finally starting to turn into that number 1 receiver they drafted him for. He had 2 more touchdowns last week, 3 in the past 2 weeks. He's really looked like a number 1, and they were able to kind of carve up a Broncos defense that has shown to be pretty solid this year, especially in the passing game. Eagles also might get Miles Sanders back this week, even though that doesn't really mean anything. They barely use him when he's active anyways. Yeah, right? It could be a bad thing for him. But I kind of like the Saints here, too. I like this Eagles team. I don't think the Eagles are a playoff team. I think the Saints need this win, especially after last week. That they really shouldn't have been in the game, but they were the whole game. They had a chance to tie it against the Titans and win that game. They've coming off 2 straight losses. I don't think they fall to 500. I think the Saints get the 6-4 here. I like them on the road.
All right, on to the next game, and I think it's the biggest story of the week, the return of the Joe Flacco era in New York, as Joe Flacco takes over the starting quarterback position for the Jets this week. The Jets are getting 3.5 points at home, hosting the Miami Dolphins. Jets 2-7, Dolphins 3-7. Dolphins, however, 4 wins against the spread and a tie, sitting at 4-5-1, whereas the Jets matched their record at 2-7 against the spread. I was gonna say, maybe with Mike White, or Zach Wilson, you get a cover here by the Jets. But with Joe Flacco and seeing how that offense and how abysmal it has been lately, especially against the Patriots, against the Bills, I don't know if they're going to be able to even move the ball against this Miami Dolphins defense. And if you can't, they seem like they're figuring things out a little bit more, getting things figured out in the running game. And they've been finding some more weapons in the receiving game. Matt Collins has kind of stepped up pretty well, been a nice little name for them. Gesicki's obviously been a great safety blanket for whoever is playing the quarterback position for them. Stevie, where are you on this one?
This one's tough for me because it feels like Miami laying more than a field goal. I don't want to take it, but I think I am going to be all over the Dolphins this week. The Jets, rest in peace, Mike White. He had a fun 2 weeks. It was a fun meme for a little bit, the hype, and then it just kind of died down. He died against the Bills. Mike White is dead. It's no longer. We can put that to rest. Joe Flacco's not a good quarterback at this point in his career. We know that. He wasn't really even that great of a quarterback in his prime. But he's just not a great quarterback. And this Miami Dolphins defense is finally starting to click. They've only allowed 19 points in the last 2 weeks. It was against the Ravens and the Texans and averaged under 300 yards allowed in those 2 games. I actually kind of like this Dolphins defense. It's getting better. And on the other side of the ball, you have one of the worst defenses in the NFL, the Jets, allowing over 430 yards per game. They allowed 45 points each of the last 2 weeks, allowed 30 points the week before, and then 54 the week before that. I mean, this Dolphins offense isn't that great. They're not that explosive, but they should be able to move the ball on this Jets team. They have enough skill position guys. I like Gesicki a lot. I love Jalen Waddle. I think they'll be able to score on this Jets team. I'm not trusting Joe Flacco to score points. It feels I don't want to lay points with this Dolphins team ever, but I'm going to do it.
Yeah, Stevie pretty much covered it all. I mean, the Jets defense is awful. 175 points the last 4 weeks allowed.
Terrible.
Is tremendously bad. And now they're turning into Joe Flacco, which is like, what are you really going to get out of him? It does scare me a bit that maybe he just gets the ball to the receivers accurately, and the Jets actually do have decent playmakers, and then they do something. But the only thing the Jets have been able to consistently do well the past few weeks is run the ball with Michael Carter, and the Dolphins have a good run defense. That you brought it up. The defense is on the uptick. They're only allowing just over 100 yards per game. I'm not betting on Joe Flacco. A 3.5 seems a little meh because I don't really trust this Dolphins offense. But Tua should have a little confidence after that last game, coming in, delivering when he needed to. And Tua's kind of one of those guys that, when he gets a little confidence going, he starts playing better. You could be shattered in an instant, but he's got a little bit of it right now. Against the Jets, I don't see them doing much to, crumble him.
Yep, and on to the next one here in the NFC as we have the Washington football team, 3-6, 2-7 against the spread, going on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers, 5-5, 5-5 against the spread. Panthers 3.5-point favorites at home with the over/under sitting at 43. When I'm looking at this game here, I just feel like it's an under. It's just a recipe for an under here. We've seen Carolina's defense can play very well at times. Washington's offense hasn't been as good as it was at times, I think, a little earlier in the year. I wish they'd free Terry McLaurin. That dude is absolutely unbelievable. Just throw the ball to him 20 times. I don't really care. He's going to probably catch it at least 15. And as long as the other 5 aren't interceptions, you're probably going to be moving the ball pretty efficiently. So I don't see Washington getting the win on the road here in this one either. I think Carolina really needs this game. This is a game where that defense really buckles down and carries them in this MereKat.
Yeah, Carolina's defense has been looking good, and Washington had no right winning by 10 against Tampa Bay last week. They lost Chase Young for the year. Just things, it's not sustainable what they did last week, and suffered a massive loss to a defense that's been severely underperforming already this year. There should be no reason to have any faith in Washington right now. They're 1-3 on the road against the spread this season. Sure, there's the Ron Rivera revenge game aspect, I guess, but I'm not betting on this Washington team. Christian McCaffrey looks healthy. He should be able to eat against this defense. And I got to bring it up. PJ Walker is now 2-0 as an NFL starting quarterback. That's the factor that really drove them to win. Not, Cam's 2 touchdowns in 2 plays, reigniting, whole fan base or anything. But you can't bet against these Panthers right now, not after Cam coming back and doing what he did last week. It's just exciting time for them. Not a huge number against a bad team. I don't hate it.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of curious to see where all the money is going to come in on this game because it just feels like the obvious play is the Panthers. It just feels too obvious. And you pointed out, MereKat, it is a Ron Rivera revenge spot. And I think he was kind of, treated poorly the way Carolina, got rid of him. I think he's a good head coach. I don't like how he ended on terms with the Panthers. I don't want to touch this game. I want to see where the money goes. I want to see if the line moves because you got Chase Young out for the year where no one wants to take Washington. Washington just won their quote-unquote Super Bowl against the Bucs. It wasn't really a Super Bowl. It's just the best game they played all year. They held the Bucs to 270 yards of total offense, and kind of hate myself for being on the Bucs last week because, of course, Washington did that. They had no reason to, but they did. And they have no reason really to be within a field goal of this Panthers team. But I don't know. It just feels like a weird line to me. I could see Washington winning this game. I hate it. I absolutely hate this game. But I don't want to lay points with Carolina. It's just too obvious.
Yeah, I don't know. That might end up being a stay away just because of that, Stevie. But I don't know. That might not be a heavily bet game, so that might be a game where the public could get a W because it's a line where they're sleeping a little bit, not moving it. Because you're not seeing big money come
People
in.
might overvalue Washington after last week.
Especially beating a Bucs team that everyone loves. Defending Super Bowl champs, Tom Brady. There may be like, oh, Washington might be back. Their defense might be back. Mm-hmm. It's probably just a 1 week thing.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously they have a ton of talent on that defense, but losing Chase Young is a huge, huge thing.
Huge loss.
Yeah, we'll see how they can bounce back from that loss. Well, win, but the loss of Chase Young. But on the next game here, as we have our beloved Buffalo Bills hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Colts are 500 at 5-5, but 4 against the spread. Where the Bills are 6-3, 5-1 against the spread. I'm not going to count as a time to win because that line moved that week. I remember that, and they did cover earlier than Sunday. So screw the books. I'm giving it 6-3. So. Looking at this game, we got the line sitting at 50. I think it's going to be a little chilly, no real rain or anything to deal with on Sunday here in Buffalo. Obviously, we've got to start monitoring these weather reports. We saw it snowing in Green Bay earlier on last Sunday. Didn't end up really affecting the game. So late, but not enough to do anything. But Bills here obviously bounced back with a huge, huge win over the Jets after that big falter against the Jaguars. Seems like they play so much better when Spencer Brown is in the lineup and they're kind of trying to batter guys, getting him polling, and it kind of gets everyone else involved. And maybe it solidifies them, makes them feel more comfortable when they're in these long stretches into their pass blocking, to where you get these breaks, you get out in the free space, you get some hits, you play that physical ball. You still feel, fully involved as an offensive lineman. I know MereKat can speak to that a little bit more, but a lot of those guys talk about it. When you're just dropping back and passing over and over and over again, it kind of takes you out of the game a little bit. And then when you try to go back to run, kind of diminishes that. And then you get those diminishing returns over and over again when you try and bounce back and forth. So I think, they did a much better job, with some quick passes and doing some things, getting the ball out there and getting the ball outside with some big guys in front of them. With the playmakers having the ball, and that's what you got to do in the NFL. I think we'll see a lot more of that. Some quick stuff to beat this Indianapolis Colts defense. It's very, very good against the run. I think they're like second in the league against the run, something like that. They're right up there in the top 5. So obviously not the Bills' bread and butter running the ball, but you still need to do it a little bit to open things up, Steve.
I mean, I love the Bills here, and I love that it's right at a touchdown because I think a lot of people are going to see the Colts with the touchdown and be like, oh, they can play it. Besides the Jets, the Bills haven't been too impressive over the past month. They've been playing tight games. I love the Bills at home here. After being on the road for the past 5 weeks, the Bills are going to get home, and they're going to play a Colts team that relies on the run. Well, guess what? The Bills have one of, if not the best rush defense in the NFL, allowing just over 80 yards per game. And if the Colts just can't do what they do with Jonathan Taylor, just gashing, they're going to have to rely on Carson Wentz, who I think will be forced into a lot of mistakes against this Bills defense. You know how much I love fading Carson Wentz. I think this Colts team's good, but I said it. I don't think Carson Wentz is a very good quarterback. And if they can't establish the run and really get out to an early lead like they have been the past 3-4 weeks with Jonathan Taylor riding his back, I don't see how the Colts are going to keep up with this Bills offense. I love the Bills -7 here. I think they blow out the Colts, to be honest with you.
And it's a way bigger issue for the Colts if they can't get that run started because Carson Wentz doesn't have that quick-hitting passing game the same way the Buffalo Bills do with Josh Allen and Cole Beasley and Stephon Diggs and some of his other targets. Whereas, you're getting these passes to Michael Pittman, but they're more longer developing plays down the sideline. the Bills defense is, the perfect counter where you can bring in, even though they're in, base nickel most of the time, they can bring their safeties into the box, and you see
Right.
Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer making plays in the box all the time.
I'll be that guy. I think 7 might be too much. I'm going to be really curious to see how the money comes in on this game. But the Colts are trending in the right direction right now. And lest we forget, how tough they played us last year. They're not that much different of a team outside of quarterback, which is obviously a huge thing. And Carson Wentz isn't good, but he's not bad.
Yeah.
Everybody likes to think he has like 15 interceptions this year because the few he has are terrible. Don't get me wrong. They're awful, but he really hasn't been turning the ball over a lot. He's got a guy, Michael Pittman, and we got an immovable object versus an unstoppable force situation here with Jonathan Taylor, who has 610 yards and 7 touchdowns in his last 5 games versus the Bills' rush defense only allowing 83 yards per game on the ground and 7 total touchdowns this year. The numbers feel weird, and the Colts, you brought up, the run defense is great. Their pass defense sucks. They've allowed the most passing touchdowns in the NFL this year, 23. It's something Josh Allen can definitely take advantage of and build off of, but their front 7 might be able to get after it a bit. If we can't move the ball on the ground, that's going to be a problem. Frank Reich is a savvy guy who obviously playing the Bills is going to have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, and but they pretty much have the same roster from last year other than a few guys like quarterback. But these guys lost in the wild card division after having a great season to the Bills. They're going to be pissed off and have a shot already, less than a year later at revenge. I'm not saying I like the Bills to lose. I love the Bills to win this game. But 7, I feel like this is a tight game.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel like Frank Reich's been here in Buffalo before. Like he was at one of those games that everyone says they were at, but he was actually there and doing things on the field.
Yeah.
But I got to give a shout out to MereKat and the Cap. They'll be going live tomorrow with a preview of this Sunday's game with Colts Insider as well. So that'll be good. MereKat, any news on Star? Star hasn't been activated yet, right?
Nope. He's not going to be.
That could be a big mess for the Bills in that,
real big loss with the practice squad moves we're making, the guys we're activating and stuff. It's looking like he's not going to be able to go, and that's just not great. He's our run plugger up the middle. Jonathan, he's the main reason we've been so good against the run this year. Now, Ed's been incredible, but he's not the level of run defender that, Star is. He's not eating up those blocks. He's more of the pass rusher type where you're going to want that against Carson Wentz and a Colts line who their interior is very good. So you're going to have a challenge up against you. It just scares me. We saw Derrick Henry. You can say you take away his one big run, his yards per carry weren't great, but he still was able to control the game and still move the ball when needed to. He got hotter throughout the game. That type of elite running back, it just scares me against this Bills defense because we got ruined by them multiple times last year. And yes, we've been better against them this year because we have Star back, and now we don't have Star. It scares me a little bit. And Jonathan Taylor is just so dominant right now. The streak he is on, the absolute heater. And like I said, they're still going to be pissed off about the playoffs last year, these guys. I don't feel great about it. I like the Bills to win, but 7, I think it's a close game.
Yeah, we'll see how that one plays out. I'm very excited to watch that one, MereKat. But on to the next game here, which is interesting because the Bills actually have a higher football power index percentage of winning than this team here in the Cleveland Browns, but Cleveland is favored by 4.5 more points at 11.5 right now over the Detroit Lions. Detroit 0-8-1. They're not going 0 for 0 for. They at least got a tie. I was going to say they're not going winless. Well, they could still go winless, but they're still 5-4 against the spread. Where the Browns 5-5, 5-5 against the spread. They're another one of these teams who's been an absolute roller coaster this season. Some of the highest highs, some of the lowest lows, getting absolutely curb stomped last week. Worst pick I've ever made. Don't know why I went to that well.
Right there with you.
And they scored the first touchdown in that game. I felt pretty comfortable. Yep. And good night now. After that, don't even talk to me about any of it. If you're a Browns fan, don't come on the Bills bandwagon now. Too late. Stay a Browns fan. Keep enjoying that mess over there. But, Stevie, Lions have been a cover machine this year. This line's already moving from 10 to 11.5. You think they can do it again?
I'm just going to make this kind of simple. I know the Lions are 5-4 against the spread, and they just had a tight game against a Mason Rudolph Steelers team. Let's make that clear first. They tied a Mason Rudolph Steelers team, and the Browns just got embarrassed by the Patriots. Who in their right mind is going to want to lay double digits with this Browns team? It just doesn't seem like anyone's going to want to lay that many points. The Lions have typically been a pretty scrappy team so far this year. I'm just going to take the Browns. I hate it, but I hate laying double-digit points here. But the big reason here is just I watched the Browns get absolutely crushed. I watched the majority of that game against the Patriots. They like you said, Ty, they scored first. It was looking good, and then there was nothing. They couldn't do anything on offense. Couldn't stop the Patriots. They couldn't stop a halfback dive to save their life. I don't know. It's so gross, double-digit points after watching a team just lose by 30 plus that I'm just going to take it automatically.
Yeah. I was going to say, has that ever happened in NFL history? Like, I don't know.
A team loses by 30 plus?
35 plus.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's crazy.
Yeah, probably, but not often, that's for sure.
Maybe a handful of times at most.
The only thing that's going to stop me from taking the Lions in this one is if there's, an absurd amount of public money on it, which there might be, but 10 points for a Cleveland team who I like. These are my last stand teams here right now facing off against each other.
This is your Super Bowl.
Exactly. I bet Cleveland and, every week up until last week. And same thing with Detroit, but I did bet Detroit last week, which was nice, and it's just you lose 45-7, absolutely shit pumped. Couldn't stop anything. You're 2-3 against the spread at home this year. The Lions have been covering well. Last week, Dan Campbell took over play calling for the first time, and they ran the ball great. DeAndre Swift he would have ran the ball 50 times. They went in overtime with how Dan Campbell was doing it, and I think that's, so the Patriots just do it, just grind the Browns front seven down. They get after the passer. There's a lot of names there, but they haven't been that great against the run. And then, since losing, the Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb combo, which, Hunt's been on for a few weeks now, they were averaging 28.4 points per game with them. Since that injury happened, Kareem Hunt going out, Chubb being on and off, whatever's going on with him, they only averaged 17.8 a game in the last 5 games or so. And Baker, still not healthy. He's limited in practice. He's banged up. Everybody loves to say, Odell's ruined the Rams already, but is Odell leaving the Browns going to hurt them? Yeah.
And if Baker falls on his left shoulder once, he's probably done for the game. Like, it's already cracked.
Yeah, and I'm just
Chubb's uncertain this week, right? He may be back, but he wasn't activated off the COVID list yet, so he's a question mark again.
Yeah, it's just unless it's like, 90% of the bets on the Lions with like 50% of the handle, I don't know how I'm not taking them.
That's why I like the Browns, just because it doesn't make sense to watch a team that just got demolished last week lay double-digit points against a Lions team that's been scrappy. They've been in a lot of games this year, even though they've lost them all. They've been in a lot of them.
I still like the Browns. They're just banged up right now. They're dealing with some shit. They'll get through it. I still like them, and I like them to win, but just double-digit points feels like a lot.
Right.
Yep, absolutely. And on to the next game, which I think is this game is a game this week. The 49ers versus the Jaguars. Yeah. 49ers 4-5 coming into this one, 3-6 against the spread. Jaguars 2-7, 4-5 against the spread. 49ers 6-point favorites in this one. With the over-under sitting at 45. Feels like probably an under game because both these teams kind of stink, especially lately. It sounds like Elijah Mitchell is going to play with a broken finger still for the 49ers, who's been pretty much their number one back, taking over a big role there for them. So we'll see how that plays out for them. Obviously, Debo's been crushing it. A big performance the other night, and that kind of feels like a reason why everyone's going to be betting on the 49ers, and it might be a Jaguars backdoor cover here.
Yeah, it's one of those gross games where I don't know what to do. This is probably my fuck this, don't bet it game of the week. It's disgusting. I don't want to take a side here. Jacksonville, sneaky. Brought up 4-6 against the spread, but they're only 1-3 against the spread at home this year. 49ers, doesn't really matter who they have. Jeff Wilson coming back now, too. It was nice to see. but they can just run the shit out of the football. They have the 5th most rushing touchdowns in the league. The Jags have allowed the 4th most. They're not the best rushing defense, but they're not bad. It's just one of those lineups or matchups where I'm like, there's no true edge I really like. You'll never find me wanting to bet on the 49ers, and I'd love to take the Jags here, but I want to see money and stuff first because I just don't love it. I'll probably not touch this.
Yeah, I see this either going one or two ways. Either the 49ers win this game by a late field goal or they win this game by 40. I don't see any other option other than a very close win or they just blow the Jaguars out of the water. Big thing for me for the 49ers is George Kittle's fully healthy, and he is one of the few skill position players, I think, wide receiver or tight end and running back, that actually can change a game when he's fully healthy. He's the best blocking tight end in football. I don't think it's particularly close, and he really gives the 49ers just that dynamic for play action or across the middle. And if you watch the Rams 49ers game, like I did reluctantly last week, he just shredded them up the middle on 3rd down. Same with Debo. And it was the Rams defense played well on the 1st and 2nd downs. 3rd down, they just didn't know what to do. The 49ers need to play. They go, all right, Kittle just run a little post up the middle. Debo run a slant, just a crossing route. And the Rams just couldn't cover him. They couldn't stop him. 49ers needed that win last week. They needed it, and they actually have a chance to maybe make that 7 seed in the playoffs now. They're 4-5, 3-6 against the spread, but I don't think they can suffer to have like a sleepwalk game against this Jaguars team and this bad Jaguars defense. I am concerned Debo has a shin injury. Debo's been injured a lot in the past. So if he doesn't play, that could change it a little bit here. But with George Kittle fully healthy, it really opens up this 49ers offense. They can run the ball at will whenever they want. They can use him. And I just don't think the Jaguars have enough players on the defensive side to really stop that. 6 feels weird because it just feels too short. But I can't trust this Jaguars team. I just think this game goes like 49ers win like 41-3, and we're like, oh yeah, like that was obvious. We should have seen that coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm just going to forget that game's on and just pretend it's not, and hopefully Debo gets a bunch of points for my fantasy team. And we'll get on to the next game here as we got the 1-8 Texans on the road at the 8-2 Tennessee Titans. Tennessee is 7-3 against the spread, while the Texans are 4-5. A little frisky there against the spread themselves, but a lot of that was early on in the season. Over/under sitting at 44.5 in this one. Titans, they just seem to keep getting it done, but DVOA still doesn't love them. Still has them a little bit one of those frisky teams, a little bit just above middle of the pack there. Stevie, what do you see in this one? You think they can cover that double-digit spread?
I hate it. Like, I want to take the Texans getting double digits. The Titans have beaten anyone, and they've shown no reason not to just keep playing them. But they didn't cover against the Saints, and this feels like they got their big wins out of the way, right? They beat the Bills. They beat the Chiefs. They beat the Rams in primetime. They beat the Colts. They swept the Colts on the year. It just feels like this could be just maybe a division rival that knows the Titans well from the past couple of years, just kind of catches them off guard, maybe gets out to an early lead. Maybe the Texans get out to like a 10-0 lead, and the Titans kind of come back and win the game. They don't really have to sweat it, but it just feels like too many points for me. I like taking double-digit points when it's a division rival type of game. And I don't know. I don't want to put like faith behind this Texans team because there's really no reason or there's really no stat that supports why that you should ever put money on this Texans team. But I just think it's too many points. I'll take the Texans. I hate it. This is a game I just don't want to watch either. You said last game is the game you don't want to touch. I don't want to see any part of this game. I don't want to see a single highlight from this game. Just let me see like a Titans 30-23 win and the Texans plus 10.5 cashes. That's all I want to see.
I will go broke fading this Titans team. I swear. I'm doing it again this week. Every single week there's been this huge upset, usually in division, like you said, Stevie, and why not this week? The Texans are coming off a nice rest. Tyrod Taylor did not look good in his first game back, but you're not going to see Tyrod Taylor throw 3 interceptions in 2 straight games. You just aren't. He probably wasn't 100%. They kind of rushed him right back, right from when he got activated for practice. You have a 21-day window. They gave him like 8 days. They're like, yeah, brother, you're on the field. And he threw 3 interceptions. Didn't look great, but the week off is good for them. The Titans defense, I'm not bought into it at all, and I'm not bought into them being, the same offense without Julio and Derrick Henry. I don't know how they're doing it still, but I don't see it being sustainable. I still think the Colts have a chance at this AFC South, and the Titans are going to have to lose for that to be a thing, and I think they can start losing here. It feels like this is going to be a big public on the Titans type game too. We'll wait to see. Maybe people are like, oh, Texans plus 10, too many points. They were covering to start out, but I just like them here. I like it, and like I said, I will go broke fading this Titans team.
Hopefully MereKat doesn't go broke and he hits it big, and so does everyone else. On to the next game here as we have a NFC North clash between the Packers and the Vikings. Packers 8-2, 9-1. I repeat, 9-1 against the spread in week 1 didn't happen, so 9-0 against the spread. MereKat will let us know that if I didn't say it, so I figured I might as well. And the Packers 4-5, but 5-4 against the spread. Right now, Packers favored by 2 points, 2.5 points, some places still, with the over-under sitting at 49 in this one. MereKat, how are you feeling on this one? Vikings, I just don't know what to think about the Vikings. Every game is close. And
Every game.
They either shoot themselves in the foot or you're like, wow, this team actually is pretty fucking good.
Yeah, they're a team I was religiously just taking every week for a bit, and now the roller coaster really started to get up and down, and I don't know what to make of them. This line feels like such a trap to me. I know the Vikings are coming off that big win, but the Packers should be favored by more than 2 in this one. I don't care. It's a divisional game, and, like I said, the Vikings are turning it up. Packers, you sent us the article today, Ty, about how, their defense and stuff is not sustainable, the performance they're getting out of it right now. They're not playing to the level that we're seeing in the results, but hey, they're still doing it. They're riding the wave. They're getting it done. The Vikings, I'm really only scared of their backfield in this matchup right now, although obviously Kirk Cousins, Justin Jefferson, I'm feeling all those. You can't deny. I just don't know what to do on this one. The Vikings are 1-7 their last 8 home games against the spread. And their defense, it looks really bad, really bad. They're 370 yards per game right now. Give Rodgers a full week of rest, a full week of back in the lineup practice, not just activated right before the game type deal. I don't know. Dylan filling in for Aaron Jones, AJ Jones, can do well. I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know. Dylan's great. But, he didn't look great last week. He got in the end zone twice.
He had a couple.
He had like 20 rushes for 60 yards. You don't want to see that, but it's like someone talk me into something here. Stevie, go.
I don't want to. I was hoping you were going to talk me into it.
No, I'm battling. I don't know what to do.
One of my golden rules is if it's Aaron Rodgers with a field goal or less, you just blindly take Aaron Rodgers and say thank you, because he's been doing that for the past 3-4 years. He's been winning games by 3 or more points. And now we're going against this Vikings team, which I said they're better than what their record is. They may be 4-5, but they're better than 4-5. They've been tight in every game, and this is a huge game for them. This is a chance to get back right into the wild card picture. They probably won't catch the Packers in the division, but this is huge. They lose this, their season's probably done, and it would be glorious for them to get that home win against their division rival, the Packers, to get back to 500, to get themselves right back at the playoff picture. So I have that on one side, but then on the other side, I know how good Aaron Rodgers has been the past 3-4 seasons. He doesn't just win games, he covers games too. Like you said, the Packers are 9-1 against the spread this year. You throw out that first week, 9-0. There you go. It's hard for me because I want to take Rodgers and the Packers, but I think everyone wants to take Rodgers and the Packers.
Yeah.
I hate this game. I'll probably end up taking the Vikings because I'm an idiot, and I'll be like, oh, I can't take the Packers -2.5. Just give me the Vikings because I hate it so much.
Yeah.
All right, well, on to the last 1 o'clock game then, boys. We got the Ravens going into the Windy City to take on the Bears. Ravens getting 5 points in that one. Ravens giving 5 points in that one. They're 6-3 on the year, but 3-6 against the spread. One of the few teams, I think one of the only teams really, that has a discrepancy that big. That's actually a winning team. And the Bears 3-6, 4-5 against the spread here. Then over/under sitting at 45. Baltimore has been a team, we've talked about this week after week, where they're all right, but they're not winning games by big margins. Right. They're not covering, in wins. They're kind of pulling rabbits out of their hat. and it kind of falls to the wayside just because of how impressive Lamar's performances are. That's the talking point, the takeaway point. That we're talking about Lamar, not how'd they win this game, and this feels like a spot here going into Chicago, a team that has had a very good defense, even when things aren't going well offensively, where we're getting late in the season here, where you can sneak out a victory if you're the Bears and you're Matt Nagy and you figure something out here with a defensive game plan to shut down Lamar Jackson's TV.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of saw with the Thursday night game, the Dolphins really did a great job at limiting the Ravens. They did a really good job at saying, we're not just going to let you run outside on us all game. And if you think back to the Bears 2 weeks ago, that was Justin Fields, probably his best game of his career against the Steelers. He finally looked a little comfortable as an NFL quarterback. He was able to run a little bit. He was able to throw the ball down the field, had over 300 total yards, despite Cole Kmet being his top receiving option. The Ravens, to me, I can never figure the Ravens out, because every time I'm finally saying, all right, you know what, I think we've kind of figured out how to limit the Ravens offense, that's when they drop 45, and that's when it looks like this team's unstoppable. They're just faster than everyone. But I've said the Bears defense has played up at home, and they were doing that all year, but besides their last home game against the 49ers, where the 49ers were able to just kind of run the ball all over them. And I think the Ravens probably can do the same thing. I hate it because these are two teams I just can't get right all year long. But I kind of like the Ravens here. I think people are going to overreact a little bit to the Ravens' loss to the Dolphins. And I do understand the Ravens have been playing everyone close so far this year. And I don't think they're as great as maybe they were hyped up to be a couple weeks ago. I don't think the Bears are that great. I really do think the Ravens can win this by a touchdown. I don't love it, but I'll lay the points with the Ravens.
All right, on to the 4 o'clock window, boys. And we got the Bengals versus the Raiders. Both teams 5-4, but 4-5 against the spread. Bengals a slight favorite in this one, a 1-point favorite. We'll probably see this line bounce around a little bit here, especially with the game being in Vegas and just knowing they usually take a bigger handle on those games. But when I'm looking at this, all I see is, where is the Hunter Renfrow over receptions line? I got nothing to say on this game until I see that. And when I see it, it's going to be hammer the over, because it's hitting 8 to 9 weeks still. Stevie, what do you got in this game? Because I know you have the Bengals.
I mean, Ty, we got Jamar Chase in this game too. Why not just a nice little parlay of Renfrow, Chase, over yards, over receptions, whatever you want to do, and just hope this is a shootout. I mean, the Raiders defense, it really hasn't been great. I expect the Bengals to score a lot of points. They're coming off back-to-back losses, and bad losses too. You lose to the Jets against Mike White, who, everyone's like, oh, Mike White. And then we saw what it did against the Bills. Maybe it was a fluke. Maybe it was just they didn't have any tape on him. And then they get crushed by their rival, the Browns. You have the bye to regroup. I think the Bengals will be able to just kind of score on this bad Raiders defense that is finally starting to show their true colors. They're pretty good to start the year, but now they're starting to really get shredded through the air. And that's really where the Bengals can attack you. They have really good weapons. So you got Chase, you got Higgins, you got Boyd. I'll take the Bengals. It's pretty much a pick-em game right now. But like you said, Ty, the best way to bet this game, just take some props. Renfrow, Chase, and take it to the bank.
And breaking news, Stevie, Matt Myers is going to be starting MereKat. Are you going to be tailing Stevie?
I am still happy with my UB bet right now, but this game, I don't know what I'm going to bet here. I do like the Bengals. They got a week on the bye to figure things out, get right, because the Jets loss was bad. Then the Browns loss, you're like, oh, that's not so bad. But now you're like, oh, maybe it was bad. And Cincinnati 3-2 against the spread on the road this year. Las Vegas is 2-3 at home against the spread. And Burrow throwing a lot of interceptions this year, despite lighting up through the air. And the Raiders defense has just 4 interceptions this year. They've allowed 17 passing touchdowns. It's not a good secondary. I'm taking whatever Jamar Chase's prop is, that's for sure. I'll probably end up taking the Bengals, but this slate just gets grosser and grosser.
Yeah, it does. And let's get into that with I'm going to save the more fun 425 game for last. So let's go with the Cardinals Seahawks here next. Cardinals 8-2, 7-3 against the spread. They're 2.5-point favorites going into Seattle. Seahawks 3-6, but 5-4 against the spread. Russell Wilson got back last week, and that game was just absolutely awful to watch. Zero offense. I don't know why they put that on all of our televisions because I damn near fell asleep and I love football. So like that's how you know it was an issue. Um, but this to me should be a very, very interesting game here. Kyler Murray obviously been dealing with injuries himself, and so has a lot of the Cardinals. You know, their weapons offensively, whether it's Chase Edmonds or AJ Green or a few other names. DeAndre Hopkins has been banged up a little bit too as well. So this is pretty much a coin flip again for me if I'm looking to bet it, Stevie.
Yeah, I mean, I hate this game because the line really doesn't make sense, and I thought Kyler Murray was gonna play last week, and then as we got closer and closer to Sunday, it's like he's not gonna play. Hopkins isn't gonna play, and I kind of feel the same way this week. I think both are going to play, but I wouldn't be surprised if we get to Sunday. It's like neither can go. Russell Wilson's not going to score. He's not going to get shut out again. There's no way he gets shut out again. That game was horrible last week, the Packers-Seahawks game. The only reason I enjoyed it is because the Packers were my favorite play of the week last week. I was able to just sit comfortably and kind of enjoy the Packers, just not letting the Seahawks move the ball at all. I don't think DK Metcalf had a catch until the third quarter. It was ugly for the Seahawks offense. There's no way they can be that bad again. But this line is, it's disgusting. It's so gross. If Kyler Murray's healthy, right? If he is able to play in this game, who is not taking the Cardinals just around a field goal against the Seahawks defense? No one is. No one is. And maybe the Seahawks at 3-6 have a chance if they can win here to get back into that wild card picture. That's the only reason I could see it. And I do like division rivals. I like taking the underdog in those games, especially when they're home. But for now, I can't make a play on this. The Cardinals, I just don't know what's going to go on with Murray this week. I think that's the big deciding factor.
This game is weird because I don't think Kyler Murray's going to go. He said today at practice that he feels good about going, but they were trying to sign practice squad quarterbacks, poach them this week. That's not a good sign. Cole McCoy is out. I think they're fucked at quarterback, and Russ didn't look 100% at all, but another week to get better. I guess that'll help him out. Cardinals are 5-0 on the road this year against the spread, but you really just got to toss it out, these injuries, and I don't know what I'm about to do here, boys. This is breaking news. We got to throw on the red light, the strobe. It's not strobing, I'm sorry, but I'm taking a total. I am taking a total in this game. I'm taking a lift off of the band. I'm going with the under 48 in this game. I already locked it in.
Under?
I don't trust the Cardinals.
Under?
The under?
Under?
I don't trust the Cardinals quarterback situation. I don't trust their running back situation right now. And I don't trust Russell Wilson with that finger after what he did last week or their backfield situation in Seattle. And some numbers for this one. Seattle's unders have hit their last 6 games as a dog, and the Cardinals' last 7 unders have hit as road favorites into this one. The trends are pointing to it. The injuries are pointing to it. That probably means this is a guaranteed over game, folks, because I'm breaking the hiatus for this, but I love the under in this. Already locked in.
Absolutely. MereKat loves the under. Everyone else hammer the over. Last 425 game, you got the Cowboys going on the road to take on the Kansas City Chiefs in a huge clash there. Cowboys 7-2, 8-1 against the spread. Obviously, their only loss against the spread was when they got their asses whooped. And then the Kansas City Chiefs 6-4, 3-7 against the spread. Chiefs 2.5-point favorites right now in this one. Over under at 56. They're looking for an absolute shootout there. Both these defenses can absolutely be beat, and especially through the air. So I think that means we hopefully, will see a ton of points scored in that one. I think that should be a very, very fun game. Looking forward to seeing lots of fantasy points out of that one. I got Dak in one league and Patrick Mahomes in the other, so I'm going to be glued to that one. I'm not going to touch this line at all because it stinks really bad. The Chiefs obviously bounced back last week finally, but they've struggled all year against the spread. They've struggled all year in general. And the Cowboys, their offense has put up some big points. They can score with the Chiefs. We saw what they did even in week 1 against the Buccaneers where, they covered late and had a very, very big performance there. So it could be, another game where it's very close and the Chiefs kick a field goal and win by, 1-2 points at the end. I'm going to be staying away from that. But I'm feeling a lot of points in that MereKat.
Yeah, no, 100% in this one. And this line doesn't make any sense to me at all. I just don't get it. The Cowboys should not be away dogs right now. I don't care that they're away. Kansas City is 0-5 against the spread as home favorites this year, and Dallas is 3-0 as road dogs this season. I really just don't get this line. Now, the Chiefs have looked a bit resurgent. Patrick Mahomes throwing left-handed touchdowns. That's all cool and stuff, and their passing attack's been great. Nearly 300 yards a game this year, 25 touchdowns, but the Cowboys' secondary has been good. Now, all the attention's on Trevon Diggs. Yeah, he gets interceptions. Yeah, he lets up a lot of yards, but they've been solid, only averaging about 250 yards against them through the air game this year, and they have a 1-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 14 interceptions, 14 touchdowns allowed. I think it's a good matchup for the Cowboys. This is definitely a game I'm not even thinking about touching until I see the money, but I'm inclined to like the Cowboys.
Yeah, this is kind of weird for me because the Chiefs have only allowed 15.6 points a game over their last 5. And granted, it hasn't been world beater schedule, right? You played the football team, you played the Titans, you played the Giants of Daniel Jones, you played Jordan Love when you faced the Packers, and then Derek Carr last week. But their defense is getting a little bit better, and it kind of reminds me of the past couple of years when that bad defense got better as the year went on. They were just started blitzing more. They just started pressuring quarterbacks more. That's kind of what they did against the Raiders last week. I think the Chiefs, I don't know if they're all the way back, but I think they're slowly starting to come back. And this is kind of the public versus the public game. Everyone loves to bet the Chiefs and everyone loves to bet the Cowboys. I just see the Cowboys getting points. Feels like everyone's going to look at the Cowboys, who are 7-2 on the year, 8-1 against the spread, and be like, the Cowboys should score at will on this bad Chiefs defense. Well, the defense has gotten a little bit better over the past month. And I think this is a huge statement if the Chiefs didn't get it, to say we're still a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Right now, it's less than a field goal. I'm comfortable with that. I think the Chiefs win this game. So if it doesn't go past 3, I'm happily taking the Chiefs.
Oh, I'm not happy about that game at all. On to the night game, Stevie. And we got the Steelers going on the road to take on the Chargers. Game opened up, Chargers -3, Chargers now -5.5. Ben Roethlisberger self-reported COVID last week. His status is still up in the air. Obviously, they've been dealing with a bunch of injuries as well at some of their key positions. Between him, Chase Claypool has been banged up as well as Juju. So that'll be something to note. Both these teams above 500, but below 500 against the spread. Stevie, do you think the Chargers can, bounce back, start getting after things, or are we going to see them sort of struggle here yet again and even give up a bunch of points to maybe even Mason Rudolph?
They will not give up points to Mason Rudolph. Nobody should give up points to Mason Rudolph. The Lions' defense barely gave up points to Mason Rudolph. I kind of hope Ben Roethlisberger doesn't play because I just want to take the Chargers. But for right now, I'm kind of staying away. I think if Big Ben plays, somehow, even though he's not been a good quarterback this year, somehow the Steelers will find a way to make this close. It'll be that classic, Chargers primetime game where it just comes down to a field goal. But for now, I'm staying away from the game just because it's just I will never, you hear this right, I will never bet on Mason Rudolph, ever. I will never take Mason Rudolph. You can give me 25 plus 25.5 with Mason Rudolph. I still won't take that.
Yeah, you can't take it. Big Ben being a worry with the COVID. Minkah Fitzpatrick, too, dealing with COVID. No TJ Watt. Other, injuries Ty brought up. The Steelers are banged up. I still don't think they're a great team. They have some good pieces, some superstar caliber players, I guess, but they are not that level team, in my opinion. But the Chargers defense is so bad. I'm so happy I didn't take them last week. I still think they're a great team. I'm now starting to sweat my futures, and I don't know, guys. Najee might go for 250 against their rush defense. I really just don't know what to do. I'm leaning the Chargers because I'm not going to bet, on the Steelers ever, even with Big Ben. But if it's Mason Rudolph, I feel like you got to go Chargers. It's a game they can't lose. But brought up, they love one-score games, so who knows? Gross slate gets grosser, boys.
Yeah, it gets even grosser on Monday night as we have the Giants taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Giants are 3-6, but 5-4 against the spread. Bucs are 6-3, but 3-6 against the spread. Stevie, you brought up that trend about the covering the next week after, failing to cover and losing. Bucs lost outright last week. Now they're 11-point favorites in a team that has failed to cover this season. It's a line that I hate, but if it follows the trends, the Buccaneers should cover. I'm not going to touch this game, but it feels like we got to go Bucs.
Well, the problem with the trend is the Giants were on bye last week, so technically they couldn't cover because they were on a bye, so it doesn't really fit that trend there. I hate this game. You know how I feel about Monday night games. If it's not worth watching, I just don't take it. And the good news is college basketball's back. So I'll probably see what's on Big Monday and see if there's a few games I want to watch there. But I think the play is the Bucs just because they just lost to the football team. They've lost back-to-back games. The Saints game, which I know 99% of the world was on the Bucs in the Saints game there. They got crushed there. Then they lost to the football team where they were double-digit favorites again. And they lost outright. I mean, this could be the classic Daniel Jones 5-turnover game. Despite him playing better this year, it just kind of feels like it will be that type of spot. Barkley could be back, which would help the Giants offense a little bit. I know Tony's healthy, which we'll see how long he stays healthy, but that should help their offense. But I don't know. I hate this game. I hate Monday Night Football, especially when it's supposed to be a blowout, but I would take the Bucs.
Yeah, I feel like you got to go with the Bucs here. They're coming off that bad loss. Tom Brady's a vengeful type of guy. They're 3-1 against the spread at home this season, and you brought the trend. You kind of want to force feed it into it, but you can't force that type of stuff. The Giants were on the bye; it doesn't count, even though we want it to count. And AB's probably not going to be back, but Gronkowski back at practice. Godwin might be good to go. Tyler Johnson looked healthy last week, which is good for them. And they lead the league in passing touchdowns right now at 27. Still, the Giants are bottom 16 passing D. Not that they're bad, they're just not good. It's something Brady can carve up with whatever receivers he's got out there. I gotta go with the Bucs and the bounce back.
And I mean, not to mention Brady's playing the team that beat him in 2 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
And he's a very vengeful guy that for MereKat. Because we know about Tom Brady.
I wish we had Manning cast for this one, but Eli is a coward and won't do a Giants game because he doesn't want to be mean to his old team because they give him so much money. Eli, fuck the Manning cast and that goddamn curse.
Absolutely. That's going to do it for Free Money Football preview of the Week 11 slate. Make sure you guys follow us over at The Generate Zone on Twitter for more content. If you guys are watching over on YouTube, make sure you hit the thumbs up. Make sure you guys subscribe and get some comments and get some questions in for us when we do the Sunday show. We'll be sure to answer those for you guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. Shout out to MereKat and Stevie for joining myself, Ty B, yet again. Make sure you guys get out to the creek. Get out to the, text these bets in. Go to Turning Stone. Do whatever the hell you got to do. Don't get that free money. Good boy.